Newcastle. First up, we're going to look at Brandon Austin, first ever rating on this channel. 8 all round for Brandon.
Well,
I think
apart from a friendly.
Did we rate him in that friendly? I think, yeah, probably did. Yeah, you're right. A competitive game rating, let's say. 8 all round for Brandon. And yeah, like I said before, I thought he was pretty much flawless. I thought commanding his box really well. Yeah, I mean, his throws, over the top throws, were a bit questionable. But yeah, look, I thought he dealt with the majority of challenges that came his way, and I was really happy with him, and really happy to see him on the pitch after 9 long years of waiting. Yeah,
did very well. Fair play to him. I think coming in after so long out in the cold, 78 match day squads he'd been in before this game without making an appearance, and he came in and did extremely well. Made a couple of really good saves for the near post. I think the biggest kind of aspect of improvement was his coming for crosses and his ability to pluck crosses out the air. Extremely impressive. And his ball playing ability, you know, a bit hit and miss, but it was all right as well. So fair play to Brandon. Brilliant performance and deserves a lot of credit.
Next up, Pedro Porro. 8 all round for Pedro. My man the match. I think he was Spurs' best player and most dangerous player on the day. Really using the ball with quality, floating those balls in. Brilliant assist in the first few minutes as well for Dom Solanke. And I thought defensively as well, I thought, you know, Anthony Gordon did get a bit of space on that left-hand side or our right-hand side, but I thought for the most part, I thought he did really well. So I was happy with Pedro yesterday. Much improved display than what we've seen in recent weeks.
Yeah, and I think there's no coincidence he gets a week break and he looks a lot better. I thought actually he dealt with Gordon fairly well. I know Gordon obviously scored a goal, had one other chance as well, but obviously the goal that he scored, I don't think you can put on Porro. I think it's obviously we were caught out by the handball and they played quickly through very quickly, and obviously the other chance was also on the counter attack. But I thought in general he was our most creative outlet. He was the one creating chances for his teammates. He was the one stretching the pitch as well. I thought his passing was fantastic. I thought his cross for Solanke was absolutely on the money. It was brilliant. And actually defensively, he made some really good tackles on Gordon and was actually really impressive. I thought in the one-on-one times that Gordon was taking him on, I thought he did really well. So fair play.
Radu Dragusin up next. Him gives him a 4. I gave him a 3. I mean, he was the clear weak link in the back line. I thought on the ball left little to be desired about. I thought it was really frustrating. I mean, I've said that about Radu Dragusin constantly, pretty much since he's come in. I think his ability on the ball is very, very frustrating. And I thought he should have dealt with a few situations a lot better, particularly the one where they scored. I just think he was slow to react.
Yeah, clearly suffering with the... he was clearly suffering with the illness and clearly wasn't fully fit and clearly was kind of got out of bed and tried to couple it together performance. I thought on the ball, horrendous, just passing out of play without any pressure on him and really struggled off the ball, off the pace. I thought by and large couldn't really pick up Isak a lot of the time, and we actually got a lot better when he went off. So that's poor, unfortunately. But I don't want to criticise him because, you know, playing with the week he's had, I'm sure it was very difficult.
Yeah, but another player that was playing with the week he had was Archie Gray, and Sim gives him a 6 and I gave him a 7, and I thought he stood up for the team and to scrutiny a lot better than his counterpart in Radu Dragusin. I can't praise this Archie Gray enough. 18 years of age, central midfielder, whatever position you ask him to play, and now he's consistently been playing at centre-back now, and I think he's been probably consistently over this period our best player. I think I just can't praise this guy enough. He's so calm and composed on the ball. Defensively, I think he's winning duels in the air quite regularly, and I'm just loving what I'm seeing from him. And this guy is going to be a top player for us.
Yeah, 100%. And the way he has stepped in this period has been nothing short of exceptional, especially in this game as well. I thought, look, unfortunately, he did keep Isaac on side for the goal. That's probably a positioning issue, and not totally.
He's done that quite a few times, actually.
Yeah, it's not the first time he's done that. And look, again, I'm not going to criticise him too much. He's not a natural centre back. I thought his partnership with Spence was quite good. I thought him positionally was really effective, and then Spence was kind of mopping up with his pace. So I thought they complemented each other really well. So fair play to him. I thought he did really well on the situation yesterday. Unfortunately, his position kept Isaac on side though.
Left back, Jed Spence. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I thought he really struggled at left back in the first half to deal with Jacob Murphy. Murphy just kept getting the better of him on a regularity. And I think that's where a lot of Newcastle got their joy in the first half. However, second half, he moves to centre-back and we're all fearing the worst. But I thought he did a lot better at centre-back than he did at left-back. I did think he brought his way out of trouble a couple of times where he bought a few fouls and stuff where he was under pressure. But yeah, it didn't really hurt us too much. So I thought he was a lot better in the second half than he was in the first.
Yeah, first half I thought he did really strong against Jacob Murphy. I thought Murphy, and on the ball as well, I didn't think he was using it well. I thought Murphy really had the beating of him, was able to get those crosses in too often across the face of goal, and Isaac should have had a couple of goals. He got one. But once he was to centre back, I thought he actually really improved and really helped shore up the back line. I thought his pace really helped contain Isaac. And I thought on the ball looked really, really confident. So fair play to him. Did really, really well, Jed Spence.
Pape Matar, 6s all round for Pape. And, you know, with a week's rest, I really expected a bit better from Pape because we know that with rest and, you know, with games off, I know it wasn't a game off, but it was, you know, a longer rest than we've seen in previous weeks for Pape. He usually puts in that unreal performance, but we didn't get that. But I still think we got a good level of performance where, you know, he was running around, he was buzzing around, he was taking shots off, and, you know, he had 2 shots on target, I think, just in the first half, mainly from, you know, far out. But he was a threat. But I felt like, yeah, it just wasn't imposing himself as much as maybe he has done in the past.
Yeah, I think he was busy, and I think, again, the midfield 3 of Newcastle really struggled, I think, in general to kind of dominate that area. Obviously, his running power really helped and really made sure that we weren't getting too exposed, or be at that period that we were getting quite exposed. His shot did lead to Brennan Johnson hitting the post as well, so that was a good effort. And he had another shot in the first half, which went right down the keeper's throat, so was taking some efforts. But in general, in terms of really offering enough to really dominate that bit of the pitch, he just wasn't there, unfortunately, but it's difficult.
Lucas Bergvall, Sim gives him a 7, I gave him an 8. Lasted, I think it was an hour. Yeah, just over an hour. And yeah, I thought he was brilliant, man. I really did. First half, I thought he was struggling with the physicality of Joe Linton, but he was still finding moments of quality. He linked up well with Pedro Porro for the goal in the first 3 minutes. And I just love, first of all, his tenacity. I think he wins a lot of duels and even aerial duels as well. For someone of 18-year-old in the central midfield against such an aggressive Newcastle middle 3, I think it's so impressive, man. It really is. But then on the ball, he just shows calmness. He shows quality. The way he spreads his pass, his weight of pass, I think he's just such a good player, man. And again, like Archie Gray, he's going to be a massive player for us in the future.
Definitely. And this is another kind of coming-of-age kind of performance for Bergvall, I felt, in general, because playing against that midfield 3 of Newcastle it's always going to be a daunting prospect, and I thought he just competed so well on the ball. There was that moment, the moment for the first goal, the way he glides past Joe Linton was something to behold. He got really unlucky with the equaliser, obviously, where the Joe Linton handball. Maybe was guilty of not playing it to Decky, though, when he could have, instead of trying to find Porro and maybe pick the wrong pass. But I thought there were times where obviously Joe Linton was going to bully him, and that was always going to happen. There was also times where he was winning headers. He was actually competing really well, and I thought his weight of pass is brilliant. There was one pass he played from the centre circle. He did an unbelievable switch out to Brennan Johnson, and Brennan just didn't think there was going to be that perfect, the ball, and he was so perfect he didn't even read it.
And bang on the money every time.
Bang on the money. He's just got this unbelievable switch of play. Bergvall, sorry, unbelievable switch of play. And I thought his passing was brilliant, really gaining an influence as the game went on. Unfortunately, went off on the hour, but I think it was the right decision despite his influence in the game. But I thought he showed more than enough that he should be playing a lot more in the Premier League.
And the fans' reaction to him going off just shows how well he played yesterday.
Absolutely.
Decky next. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. It wasn't the Decky that we know and love that we've seen all season. It wasn't a terrible or bad performance by any stretch of the imagination, but with the captain's armband, I expected him to take more authority on the pitch, and I don't think, maybe it's just because he's been running the ground, but with a week's rest since our last game, I really did expect to see that physical commanding Decky, and I just don't think we saw that. He did create a few chances during the game, 4 key passes on the day, and 6 duels, 1 out of his 13 contested. But I just felt like it was a level below for what we've seen Decky all season.
Yeah, I think he struggled to get away from the likes of Joel Linton and Tonali and Guimaraes in the middle. They were definitely crowding him out and targeting him whenever he got the ball, and he did struggle with influence at times. I thought when he got into the penalty box, I actually thought he was quite good, and he picked out some really good moments and did create a couple of chances. But I think outside the box, he was just making loose touches. He was getting shoved off the ball, and unfortunately, just wasn't able to impact the game like he usually does. But on another day, if Johnson takes his shot instead of just putting it across the face of goal, he might have an assist to his name. So it wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't his best game.
Yeah, Brennan Johnson falls all round for Brennan. Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't impact games, Brennan, and it really frustrates me because you need someone, particularly with the possession that we had in the second half. You need someone to really, properly have a go at them. And I know he found himself in some good positions, which he usually does, and that's a credit to him. But on a general basis, he just doesn't impact games enough. And I think his decision-making, particularly yesterday, was a bit off. You have that chance that he has when you see the goal gaping in front of him. Take a shot, man. You've got the quality. We've seen it all season. You've scored 11 goals. I don't know whether it was a shot or whether it was a cross, but maybe it was just caught in 2 minds, and it was
the fact you don't know is a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And that one where he hit the post, I mean, he was never going to score from there. So, I mean, dink it into the back post or something. Cut it back to Solanke or someone. But again, he takes the shot, and I think it was just out of panic more than anything. And he was never going to score from there, and it hit the outside of the post.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I thought Lewis Hall really contended with him really well. The amount of times he tried to make a yard for himself to get a cross in and just wasn't able to do it, and his cross got blocked every single time. Very, very frustrating. He's got to do a lot better at that. Obviously, there was one really good run in the first half where he ran through 3 Newcastle players, cut it back to Deck, who laid it off for Solanke, and his shot was blocked. So that was a good moment. And then he obviously did hit the post. It was always going to be very difficult to score from there. I think the one person we need in that position is Jamie Donnelly. Looking at the this weekend's evidence, he did score from that kind of angle, but Johnson hit the post, unfortunately. It was always going to be difficult. And then he had his big moment where he's got to be firing that in the far corner. Johnson has been doing that all season, that kind of finish, firing it into the far corner. And for one reason or another, I don't know if he dragged it or don't know if there was a part of his mind who thought, actually, I'm going to go for Solanke here. But either way, he went nowhere near anyone, and it was a terrible finish, and he just has to be belting that. Could have even fired it into the roof of the net if he wanted to. There was enough of the goal there. So very disappointing. That was probably our best chance of the second half, and he wasted it. And then in general play, when he wasn't getting chances, he was really struggling to create.
Timo Werner, 3s all round for Timo. I mean, just a carbon copy of what we've seen from Timo in recent weeks. Pretty much nothing to go on. Every time he got the ball on the left-hand side, he seemed to lose it. Couldn't use his pace to give us any sort of advantage. He attempted 3 crosses on the day, none of them accurate, and I don't think he was physical enough to win his duels as well. So, another poor performance.
Yeah, what can I say about him? Just terrible. Livramento probably has had an easier game this season. Can't remember too many times he even took him on. The other times he did win a few corners, but that was probably the best he got for him. Don't remember any kind of chances created, any crosses, any dribbles. He did worked hard a bit, but still they were getting him down that right-hand side anyway. Our left-hand side, sorry. So, yeah, terrible, I would say. Terrible.
And then the last of the starting 11, Big Dom Solanke. 7s all round for Big Dom, and he was our biggest threat on the day. I thought he was, non-stop running, physical, hustle and bustle of the game. If anyone was going to get more goals, it was going to be him. Brilliant header in the first 3 minutes from a pinpoint cross from Pedro Porro. Had another one, which was a harder one, probably in the second half, which went straight into the keeper's arms. But yeah, look, he was a constant threat. He was dropping deep. He was trying to knit the play together as well. Just a constant thorn, I thought, in Newcastle's side. It's just a shame that the other attackers weren't really on his wavelength.
Yeah, the only problem I would say is there was maybe too many occasions where he maybe didn't protect the ball enough in the centre of the pitch when Austin went straight towards him. And that was, put us in a bit of trouble sometimes. But I thought overall, the goal he scored was brilliant. The way he battled past Botman, held him off and headed it into the far corner, brilliant. He was definitely our biggest threat when crosses were being swung in by Porro in that second half. He was the one looking most likely to make something happen. Also think his play with his back to goal inside the penalty area is exceptional. That pass lay off to Decky, which set up the chance for Brendan, was absolutely fantastic. And I want to see more of us doing that, playing those low passes into him and him setting up chances. So I thought a really strong performance from him up against two very physical defenders in Byrne and Botman, and I thought he did really well.
Now to the subs. Reguilon came on at half-time for Radu Dragusin, moved over to left-back. He moved over to left-back, and Jed Spence came into centre-back. And we give him 7s each for Sergio Reguilon. Big up to Sergio, because it's hard to come in completely out the cold, barely played any football all season, and he comes in against a really strong Newcastle side, and he shored up that left-hand side, because Jacob Murphy was getting in quite a lot, and barely saw Jacob Murphy in the second half. So that's a big credit to Sergio Reguilon. I felt he was getting up and down, showing good energy levels on that side of the pitch. Going forward, I think it was there was a bit of a lack of quality. There was one moment where he puts in a cross, and it just goes like flying over the bar, and then he turns around to the crowd and he's like, come on, come on. It just made me laugh with Sergio, and that's the kind of passion that he does bring to the team. And I do hope that even if he's not going to be here past this season, I do hope we do see him a bit more, because as much as he's not in the plans, as much as Ange doesn't rate him and he wants to leave, he does have a little bit of quality about him.
Well, he's got pace, that's for sure. He's always had that. He's always had that ability to be a bit of a bull in a china shop on the pitch and just run around and cause a nuisance of himself. He also ends up getting caught out of position a lot. But in terms of how we play, obviously the inverted role probably won't suit him. But I also think the pressing stuff probably he would kind of like all that running around, I would say. He did well. Credit to him. I thought he got up and down the pitch well, but he kind of made sure Jacob Murphy wasn't getting the kind of advantages he was. He was setting up. He did play one good ball into Solanke for the chance that we did have, and that was kind of nice pass. But in terms of his final delivery, obviously he had that big moment where he put it across the face of goal. No one was there to tap it home. I thought the quality was a bit missing in the final third from him. But credit to him, because, as you say, he'd been out in the cold, came in and put in a good performance in that for second 45 minutes.
Yves Bissouma up next, 7s all round for Biss. And yeah, I thought he came on with some good energy in the middle of the park. I thought he added some extra energy. He was winning the ball back quite regularly. And really good challenges and sliding challenges in the middle to set us up on attacks. And I think he added something that we desperately needed in that moment in the game. Yeah,
I think he added energy. I think actually we competed a lot better in that centre once he was on. We started to dominate all of a sudden. He was making some really good challenges on Joel Linton and Bruno Guimaraes, and also looked a lot more confident on the ball, striding forward. Made a couple of bad decisions with his passing, but I thought in general the way he was striding forward and attacking the space in that second half was very, very positive and made a really good impact on the game. So well played, Biss.
James Maddison came on as well with half an hour to go. 7s all round for Madders, and another one that was ill all week and barely trained, and I feel he came on again with a bit of attacking authority, and it looked like if we were going to do something, it was going to come through him. He was getting on the ball a lot. He had that one shot that just curled just past the post. I mean, if it goes in, it's a complete wonder goal, but it was a top effort from him. And yeah, I felt like he just showed some good intent.
Yeah, and he played some really beautiful passes in behind to Son as well on the left-hand side. Some really good kind of in-swinging passes from that in left position. And brilliant. He was. I thought some of his passing was fantastic. I thought we looked a lot more likely to score when he was on the pitch. I thought he was making some really good passes into the box, and unfortunately, look, some of his passes should have been rewarded better, and they weren't. And I thought that shot as well, inches away from in the far post, and some good free kick deliveries as well, which maybe someone should have got on the end of. So good cameo, I thought, from Madders.
And last but not least, Son Heung-min, 5s all round. Look, he came on for Timo Werner, and I think he provided more than Timo did on that left-hand side. And he was quite aggressive. He was winning his duels. One key pass on the day for Sonny, but unfortunately, I thought he was probably, in terms of impact, probably the worst of the subs that came on, and do expect a bit more from Sonny.
Yeah, I think he was better than Werner. I think he provided a bit more of a threat in behind and was asking different questions of Newcastle. But unfortunately, when he got into those positions, he wasn't able to provide that killer instinct we know he can, or that killer kind of that effectiveness in the final thirds. He just didn't have it. I don't know. And you expect him to get the ball a bit more, take Livramento on, put cross in the box. He just wasn't doing it enough. So unfortunately, it just wasn't the best cameo again from Sonny.
And last but not least, Ange Postecoglou, 6s all round for Big Ange. And look, everyone expected a complete battering coming into this game. That's the reality. I saw predictions of 7-1, 6-1, whatever you want to say. And with everything going into it, with all the injuries that we have, plus the illness that he had to contend with barely any players training coming into the week, I did feel a lot for Ange in this game. And I thought, apart from the 25-minute period where Newcastle created a lot of chances and definitely dominated us and probably should have, well, that period did win them the game. Apart from that period, I thought Spurs played really well. We started the game well, took the lead, and in the second half as well, dominated the game and should have created a lot more than we did. So I thought Ange managed the game well. He made the changes at halftime as well to keep those energy levels up. It's just unfortunate that we couldn't take more from the game from a few players just underperforming on the day. And look, I got to give him the credit where it's due. However, the form is nowhere near good enough. 2 wins in the last 2 months, and Ange has got to take the blame. And however much, the team and the players made us somewhat proud yesterday, we still lost the game, and he's got to get marked down for that.
Yeah, I feel for him. I think he mustered off as good as a performance that we could ever have imagined in that kind of current circumstances, with illness and injuries and all these different things up against and rampant Newcastle team off the back of 5 wins in a row and are really shooting up the league at the moment, who have got most of their players there. So it was a very, very difficult circumstances. And look, we took the lead and we played well. Again, we got robbed with that, in my opinion, with that handball when it shouldn't have been given. And I think he will rightly feel aggrieved with that. And I think he got a lot out of these players yesterday in a situation where it looked like all was lost. Unfortunately, wasn't enough to get any points, and it wasn't enough to get us over the line. And I think the subs were well timed as well. I thought the subs made an impact. I thought even the way he changed it, a lot of people calling for Dorrington that second half, but I thought Spence came in and did well. So I thought that was probably a correct decision as well. So I thought we did a lot of good decisions yesterday, but unfortunately just came up against a Newcastle team who were very good at defending, in great form, and even in the circumstances we just couldn't get any points, and it's just really unfortunate. But I think he's still got the players with him. I think that was evidence of that yesterday, and I think I think it's just unfortunate we're in the situation we're in. We're trying our best to get points, and he's trying his best. And I think the way he played yesterday probably got us into a situation where we could have got points yesterday under the circumstances, but wasn't to be.
And that is our player ratings for the 2-1 loss against Newcastle. Moving on, we're going to